Welcome to the What It Takes podcast, where we talk to successful entrepreneurs, leaders, and CEOs across different industries. I'm your host, Darren, and in each episode, we're going to figure out how they got through difficult times, but most importantly, what it really takes to succeed. So whether you're just starting out your career or you're looking to level up your business game, my goal is to give you real insights and practical lessons from people who have achieved what you want. Hey everyone, welcome back to the What It Takes podcast. I'm joined today by John Lee. Now, John has had a background working in corporate finance at a Fortune 100 company. He also raised $9 million for a startup company. And what he does today is truly exciting. He pivoted to start his own business in the construction industry. And what he really does is he helps people visualize how their homes are going to look like before they buy them, but also helps businesses do this. So, John, very excited to talk to you today, and huge welcome to you. For those that don't really know you, and in case I miss anything in the introduction, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what it is that you do today?
Thank you, Darren. I'm really honored to be here among your distinguished guests. I've done it all basically over my extensive career. I started out, like you said, in corporate America, working for a brick and mortar Fortune 100 company, and I was in finance. But then in 1999, at the dawn of the internet, hopefully most of you, your audience can relate to that. But I was called to Silicon Valley there, and there was this thing, the internet booming. And what they wanted me to do with my MBA in finance was to come over there and manage all these hot shot tech guys,
Mm-hmm.
make sure they didn't waste all their money. So I helped them raise $9 million, and we started up our company called Teralytics, and we competed against this little company called Google. Let me see where that ended up.
Little company, yeah.
Yeah, I raised $9 million, and they raised like $90 million. So I
Yeah.
came in a little shorthanded there, but I learned a lot while I was there. Over those 2 years, right before the dot-com crash, I realized how much technology could change the world. So when the dot-com crash happened in 2001, I came back to my hometown in Raleigh, North Carolina, and this area was actually booming. A lot of people were moving here from all over, but there was a lack of housing. So they actually had to build all these new homes. Um, the problem with buying a new home is they don't exist. So you're basically
Mm,
buying the most expensive, complex purchase of your life and collaboratively with your spouse or whatever, sight unseen, which is
mm,
crazy and obscene, frankly. So I thought it was a huge opportunity using technology to create visualizations so that you can at least start to visualize your home. With that, what we're trying to do with a new go is basically make a new go of the entire arduous, painful, frustrating new home shopping journey. And we do that by creating a new home marketing and sales platform so buyers can be able to find, design, experience, and even buy their new homes online, just like they do with everything else, including a car like Tesla.
mm. That is amazing, man. So I want to run it back all the way to the beginning at the start of your career. So you obviously started off in corporate finance and you were quite successful there. So why don't you walk us through a little bit about the decision-making process, the things that went through your head when thinking to yourself, okay, I'm going to start raising money for the startup and go in for this. What was that decision like, that transition? What made you want to get into that?
Well, going back in my history, I'm an immigrant. I came here with my parents, and my dad was a graduate of the prestigious National University of Taiwan. When he came over to America, even though he got a graduate degree, it was hard for him to assimilate in this society, especially down here in North Carolina, and also with a language barrier.
Mm,
My parents ended up having to start a tailor shop and a dry cleaning operation, and I was, part of that small business. And when I graduated, one of the reasons they really worked so hard is to send me to college so I can work in a Fortune 100 corporate, company, so I'll never have to work in small business. But
yeah.
I was always bitten by that entrepreneurial bug when I was very young.
Mm,
So I did learn a lot in grad school. I did learn a lot in corporate America, but I've always wanted to work in an entrepreneurial startup. And
mm,
so when Silicon Valley came calling, back then it was scary to go into a startup operation. People were like, startup? Who does startup? You work for IBM.
mm,
But it really intrigued me. And then the added element of technology, because back in the 80s and 90s, tech was a four-letter word. I mean, that was what IT people did in the closet over there with mainframes.
Yeah.
PCs were starting to personal computers was starting to evolve there, and I did see the opportunities there that could really change the world when I heard about Silicon Valley. So I came there really, like I said, I was exposed to so many things so quickly. It was like a warp speed.
Mm,
Even though I was there for 2 years, every cocktail party I went to was talking about disrupting the world. And
mm,
I learned separately from what I had been taught in MBA class that if you really want to disrupt the world, you apply technology among these three factors. One, if you want to make $1 billion company, make sure the marketplace is at least $1 billion. So everybody was looking for those $1 billion markets, whether it's Amazon, you can keep on going down the line there. And then the next thing is the industry that you're going into, is it fragmented? And if it's there's no market leader, there's no standard there, it's a huge opportunity. And the third thing was, is it an efficient market? If
mm.
it's inefficient, there's a huge opportunity. And so when I came back to Raleigh after the .com crash, I saw, wow, this new construction industry, it's booming with real estate.
Mm,
And it actually met all those criteria because, yes, it is a multi-billion dollar industry. It's actually the biggest industry in the US, if not the world. It drives so much of our economy, new construction jobs. Every new job generates three other jobs, all the way down to mortgages and furniture, and moving companies, and so on. Uh, Number two, it's highly fragmented. When I started, there was 75,000 builders. Now it's about 50,000 with some consolidation, but there was
wow.
no market leader. There was no
Yeah.
standard way of doing things. So it was a huge opportunity to get in. And then the third thing was, it was highly inefficient. A lot of paper, a lot of grandma real estate agents driving you
Ah,
around, picking up brochures, and anything that has an agent involved between the buyer and the seller, by definition, it's inefficient because you're not direct to consumer. So
mm.
I said that's a huge opportunity, and that's why I had to make a new go of it.
Wow. So yeah, you really then took those three areas and said to yourself, I'm not going to do this if they don't really match, or was that more of a bonus for you?
Yes, I wanted to. It hit all three criteria, so
Yeah.
it really was a great opportunity from a business
Uh-huh.
standpoint. And the other thing that's a guiding principle for me, because as an entrepreneur, entrepreneurship is really about opening a business. And I
Mm,
use this acronym of OPEN, it's easy to remember, as a guiding principle for me personally. And OPEN, the O is opportunity.
mm.
First of all, is there a market opportunity? Is there an opening there? Is it open season for somebody to come in and take advantage of that? Okay, yes, that was a check off there too. P is passion.
Mm,
I've been passionate about real estate since I was a kid because my dad was a real estate agent on the side, and I actually got my real
mm.
estate license the summer after I graduated from college because I knew whether or not
Wow.
I was going to be selling
Yeah.
houses, I knew I was going to be buying houses. So I've always been interested in real estate. So that passion is not just a passion that you love something, but you're also passionate about opening to new ideas and new approaches of doing things, and learning all along. It's a passion for learning. And then the E part is experience or expertise. You know, do you actually have what it takes to open new
Mm,
doors, to actually make a
mm.
difference? A lot of people have a lot of passion, but they don't have any skills or aptitude to
Yeah.
actually do it. And there's not the opportunity there, like I was saying at the very beginning. And then the final thing from a marketing standpoint, is there an a need? Is there a
Mm,
need? Is your audience, is the marketplace open to change? Do they want this? Is
mm,
this a pain point? Is this an attraction?
mm.
And again, the new home industry checked all those boxes for me. It was open for business.
That is, I've never heard about that framework before, open. That is so, so unique. I think a lot of people would really find that valuable going into a business, starting something, wanting, a lot of young people want to become entrepreneurs today, right? They work maybe a stable job and they're thinking, can I give this up? Do I have what it takes? But I think using that little framework, open, that is super, super useful because a lot of people also don't have what you said, the E was experience or the expertise,
Expertise, right?
the skill to be able to do what it is that they want to do and become successful in that. So it's like, how do they, right? How can you
Mhm.
get experience? But so you then, because you raised the 9 million and you started, because going back, you then transitioned, starting your business. You you lived, was it in, that was after the dot-com crash, you moved back to North Carolina,
Yes.
wasn't? And that's where you started. Then it was called rendering houses, if I remember correctly.
Yes. So when we first came over here, there wasn't really a business of what we did. Basically, they called them architectural illustrators. So you to see
Okay.
a house or your future home, there was a watercolor artist that sketched it out because
Hmm.
they didn't have 3D modeling back then. And they had to kind of paint it in and give you some semblance of color and everything. And I actually went to a watercolor class for architecture illustrations for 2 weeks. And I said, this is not going to work. This is not my dream to spend hours doing one house that will never scale.
Mm.
So we said we're going to invest in technology. And back then, there were some companies here that are starting to do 3D modeling. And I asked my partner there, I said, what do you call this future way of doing things? And they said, well, those are called renderings. And then and I said, well, who are we going to render? We're going to render houses. So I'm going to say, we're going to call this rendering house. And he's like, why are you going
Yeah.
to call that? And I said, well, when I was in Silicon Valley, this little company, Google, that was getting all this attention,
I love how
they
you're
came up
referring
with
to
the
little.
idea of search words. And this is the corollary to that. What happened was there's three of us when we did our startup, and I didn't raise any money at this point. I raised $9 million from my previous company, didn't have any. I was bootstrapped for this new company because I wanted to
So
own it all
you
myself.
bootstrapped it. Wow.
Yes, this one, the render house.
Wow.
Yeah, I took the severance pay from the startup that crashed during .com. It was only 2 months
Yeah.
severance pay, and I put it into this. And
Mm.
because I wanted to try to run this on my own without a bunch of VCs kind of getting in the way. I mean, they're great, but at the stage that we were at, I was still exploring. And back then, not only did we have to have these watercolor drawings, sketches, but we actually had to walk around downtown Raleigh in the summer. I remember it was like 95 degrees and about 90% humidity. And we had to go door by door to all these architects and these builders. And back then they had secretaries and they had, they're like the
Yeah.
gatekeepers. But then
The
outside,
gatekeepers. Yeah.
yeah, they had gatekeepers. But then outside, it was like no solicitation, no loitering. I mean, you couldn't do anything. And basically, we could walk in there with a photo album of our renderings of a few houses, and we're trying to get them to buy into this stuff. And of course, we're lucky to even talk to anybody. And the ones we did talk to, they just closed the door on us. And two bad things on that. Not only was it painful, but if we spent all of our days walking the streets, we couldn't actually produce anything.
Of
So,
course. Of course. Yeah.
right. So we came back because back then we took turns. Somebody stayed in the air conditioning car with their StarTech phone. It was like an old cell phone, and then somebody else would and they would be on the MapQuest, and you couldn't just like get a GPS point. We had to tell them go around the street, go up, and go over here, direct them there, and it was just painful. And so I said, hey, there's this company called Google here, and they're believe it or not, there are actually people looking for our services.
Mm.
And my partner's like, what? Who's going to be looking for us? We have to go knock on these doors. Like,
Yeah.
that's like death of a salesman. And I said, well, the approach is you put in your keywords in there and people are going to be searching on these keywords. And if they like it, what they see, they'll click on it. They'll go to your website.
Mm.
And fortunately, I had the name Rendering House. So people are searching on rendering houses. And true story, well, they asked me how this worked, and I said, "Well, you pay 10 cents per click." And they said, "Wait a minute, well, we'll have 1 million people click on it. We'll owe $100,000." I said, "No, no, no. You can put a daily limit on there." So we
Yeah.
put a
Yeah.
$3 limit. I said, "Each of us chip in $1. Can we afford that?" It's like, okay, we can chip in. It's better than walking the streets. True story. On the seventh click, 70 cents, we got a $70,000 order for
That
an
is
active
crazy.
lease. Yeah,
Wow.
they're building military housing in Camp Lejeune, and we got a $70,000 order off of that, and we no longer walked the streets after that. It was all
What,
online.
I mean, what is the ROI on that? That's 70 cent, $70,000 order. That's like 1,000, 10,000,
Yeah, probably
100,000.
100,000%. I don't know, man.
That is
It's
insane.
like
That is
throwing a
insane.
penny in a wishing well and getting a gold
Yeah,
bar
yeah.
out of it.
So you
Yeah.
went then, and how many on the team were you at this point? Like doing walk,
There was only three of us.
there were three of you,
Yeah,
right?
kind of the three
So
musketeers at the beginning.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you were three people and you each chipped in a little bit of money, did the Google ads, got that first client, and then from there, how has this business developed? And this was in 2000,
2001.
2001. So you got that $70,000 order, and then from there, how has your business developed?
Well, now we're about 70 people working on it.
Hmm.
And we've gone from just a visualization company to actually becoming a software platform because over the last 25 years, there's been some major paradigm shifts. And it went from print. We actually had a printing company at the very beginning. We had an old compact laser printer and the print double sided. And I used to call it like my little mint machine because it cost us $1 to print it and we sell it for $2. So every time a piece of paper came off, it was like a $1 bill. The only problem
Mm.
is I had to deliver it, but it was just like printing money. But then we went from a print operation to then digital, which was like websites. And then obviously went to apps, and now
Mm.
you can have interactivity and all the way down to your phone and everything. And now you see AI. One of the secrets for our success is actually going against the grain. When everybody went
Mm.
left, we went right. And what I mean by
Mm.
is we actually started a business in the dot-com crash, and it was also
Yeah,
9/11, 2001.
yeah,
Nobody was starting businesses. Everybody was getting out of this stuff. They're going back to corporate America and trying to play it
yeah,
safe.
yeah,
I said,
yeah.
hey, one, now I have an opportunity. There's less competition. Okay. So
Mm.
I got
Smart.
into that. And then the second major thing was the Great Recession from 2008 to 2012 in our industry, where the bank crashes and then home building and everything. A lot of our competitors were killed off, or they downsized and laid off. But that's when I actually secured the name Anugo in 2011. I stood up in my
Mm.
company and I was telling all of our graphic artists and everything. I said, we're going to make a new go of it as a software company. And everybody's looking around because they thought they were going to get laid off. I said, no, no, we're going to start over. And they're like, what? We don't know anything about software. And I said,
Yeah.
there's this little company, Apple, over here, because I learned from Google. There's a little company called Apple, and they're developing these iPhones, and real estate's all over that location, location. We're going to bring our products to where the real estate agents and where their buyers are. And I said the other thing is, in our industry, not only are they tech laggards, but they really will not change unless they're forced to change. So you need
Mm.
something that's very catastrophic, like a Great Recession, that will say, hey, we cannot do business the same way as we used to do. So I
Mm.
knew that the ones that survive, the dinosaurs are going to get killed off, and there was a big consolidation. But the ones that survive, they're going to do something different, and those
Mm.
are the people that we're going to appeal to with our new product because
Mm.
they're forced to change, and there's nobody else to help accelerate that change, but somebody that like us as a vendor that can provide those tools. So the dot com crash was an opportunity. The Great Recession was another huge opportunity as we shifted toward apps. And then COVID was another major cataclysmic event that forced buyers to shop online because they didn't want to ride around with a real estate agent. The
Of
sales
course.
centers
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
closing down. People were buying remotely because they could live and work remotely, you know,
Mm. Mm.
work. And so we were able to offer, not only online visualizations and, calculate your price online, but actually be able to sell online because
Mm.
builders needed something to allow buyers to buy online.
Mm.
And then a lot of other things came into play, not just the interactive design apps, but people playing Fortnite and video games online. So they're used to taking virtual tours and playing like video games and be able to change things. I mean, the millennials, which I've always eyed as our biggest market, have finally grown up to buy new homes. Now they're the biggest
Yeah.
buyers
Yeah.
of new
Yeah.
homes. So that convergence of technology with home buyers, they already want this, and now the builders are open to doing this. They're open for
Mm.
business in a sense, and there's a changing of the guard there because a lot of the builder leadership have retired,
Yeah.
and a lot of the agents now, especially with the recent NAR ruling, National Association of Realtor lawsuit, a lot of them are leaving the market because they no longer get paid as a buyer's agent because the buyers don't
Mm.
want to pay for them. So this is a great opportunity for selling new homes online because the homes don't exist anyway. I don't really need a real estate agent.
Hmm. So then, for someone wanting to buy a home, just if I understand it correctly, I can go to your website or your software
Mhm.
and I'll get a virtual tour of how the house will look like. I can actually almost physically, but virtually enter the house and go around and look at it, right?
Yes. Yes. So there's like I said, there's four main steps of buying a home. Being able to find it, and that's already a painful process, because there's actually like a lot of people may go to Zillow or Realtor.com. Those are traditional portals, but they're also clogged up with a lot of existing homes.
Mm,
That's majority, but 2/3 of people actually want to buy new homes, but only 10-15% actually do. Partly is the whole find process is very painful. Um,
mm,
so we actually created this portal. It's called a NewGoMarketplace.com. Nobody knows about it because I always say like we have $0, unlike Zillow dollars that have tons of marketing advertising spend. So, but what we have in there is a phantom inventory. I call it phantom, but it's it's an inventory of unbuilt homes that you cannot find anywhere else, and those homes are the ones that you can design because you everything that you see on these other portals they're already built. There may be
mm,
new homes, but they're built homes. But there's a huge opportunity to sell and pre-sell unbuilt homes that you can
mm,
design. So the first part is being able to find it. The second part is being able to design it. And when you design it, you want to see what you get and you want to get what you see. And we allow them to interactively design everything from the exterior colors to their floor plan options to choosing their home site and all the way down to the kitchen sink. Yeah. So now, and on top of that, because the price of homes is astronomical now and also interest rates, we've also thrown in a real time price and mortgage calculator in there. So now, if you want that upgrade to a quartz countertop, you can
mm,
see how much it's going to cost you extra in the monthly payment. And now that makes
mm,
it makes a better shopping experience for the buyer because now they can see if it's worth what they want to pay for.
mm,
And then the other part of it is that experience part. People not only want to see what they're getting, they want to experience it. It's like having a child in a sense because you got to wait 9-12 months to get it built, but they want to see progression along the way. They want to be able to share it with their co-buyers, their friends, and be able to share that link and let them be able to take a virtual tour of it and see it kind of grow up, and then
mm.
even see different furniture and designs within that. And then ultimately, the transaction part has been very antiquated. It's been a lot of paperwork and it's a lot of writing checks and things like that. We want to digitize, or we have digitized the purchasing process, so you can use a credit card or ACH payment, and then you can digitally sign it on DocuSign online.
You're really automating and systemizing this whole process, making it super simple for the client. So, you went through the dot-com crash, started this company, went through 9/11, went through the recession,
COVID.
2000, COVID, right? Like gone through all of these challenges
Yeah.
and you made it out. And, and one of the things that I really love what you said is that when everyone went right, you went left, you went in the opposite
Yeah.
direction,
Exactly.
right? And so, as an entrepreneur today, looking to maybe make it, what can they do if they want to enter an industry focusing on open? Is it, do they look at something, an opportunity, and go, a lot of people are here. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and do the opposite. How can they kind of follow your footsteps? And is that possible? Is it always possible or?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different recipe for different industries. I know in this industry, because we're tech laggard, in the home building industry is even more of a tech laggard than agriculture, which is hard to believe. But I know in this industry, builders, they're slow to innovate, but they're quick to copy. So I
Mm,
know it's hard to get that early adopter, but once we get it and the guy across the street is selling it that way, the other guys will start to do it. So in our industry, that's kind of my secret recipe. But
mm,
I think for this industry to succeed, we actually have to look outside of our industry. So you want to learn the pain points of your industry and your audience because that's what they will probably react to first. Really want to, in this industry is very obvious because the customer journey is so painful and supporting that
mm,
customer journey is so painful. So for us, when we address the pain, we are very valuable. It's even more important than giving them you know, benefits and all the features and all that stuff. They really want to address the pain. For us, we also had to look outside the industry, like the automotive industry is a big precursor to new construction and home sales, because people that buy new homes probably have bought new cars. So they
Mm,
want that similar experience. So I don't know if our recipe exactly applies to all the other industries, but I do believe that if you can see really the pain points that's not being addressed by the incumbents, if you can come in there with a solution, because we're really,
mm,
as businesses, we're really providing solutions. If you can
mhm.
provide that solution, you will be, you know, you'll be
Right,
wanted.
right. And what about work ethic? I think a lot of people today they want to focus on, balance. They want a good, routine in the morning. They want to go to the gym, then work a little, then take a nice break, then work. Like, how many hours do you have to work if you want to become successful?
I don't want to scare everybody off, but you're breaking new ground. It's like I do a lot of gardening. I just breaking that new ground, shoveling it, kind of weeding it and all that stuff. It's hard at the beginning, but I'd rather put the work in at the beginning to reduce the work of maintenance
Mm,
later and also bear bigger fruit down the road.
mm,
I think a lot of people, if you start off shallow, your plants are going to die and your business is going to die very quickly. And I invest a lot. It's just like in this industry, the most important part of the house is really the foundation, but
yeah.
nobody ever sees the foundation. They don't know how much has gone into it. It's actually kind of even buried. But if you want to build more to your house and have it last a long time and yeah, and sustain you, you really need to invest in that foundation. So yes, there will be hard work. I don't want to make anybody delusional, but the way you can actually reduce that work is to outsmart your competition. Don't build the
Mm,
same foundation.
mm,
Think of a better way to do that critical part so that your platform is built on something solid that will
mm,
last over many paradigm shifts. That's one of the
mm.
advantages for us is one, I think we built something that would stand all these cyclicalities and all these catastrophes. But at the same time, I'm not afraid to tear down our platform to start anew if there's going to be something that requires that.
Yeah, yeah. Aha, okay. So, I mean, and you go now, right? You essentially went from doing the $70,000 deal, you got what you have today, you're doing all these multiple things. One thing that I wanted to go back to was the ads, the marketing aspect, right?
Mhm.
Because you're at 70 people right now. You endured all these things like you mentioned as well. How did you grow it? How did you market it? How did it become the size it is right now?
Well, the crazy part is for the first 20 years, I didn't have sales and marketing, so it was all me. Well, I would say I'm the primary doing sales and marketing. We do have some people here that will help out a little bit, but we didn't have a formal role. I thought that was pretty critical. It probably took longer than I thought. But we invested all the money into the software.
Mm,
And so because we're bootstrapped, I had to pick priorities. But I also want to be close to our customers. I know that changing builders' mindsets, a lot of these builders have been doing the same thing for 3 generations. The first thing you actually have to build is trust
mm,
because they don't understand tech, but they do know you.
mm,
And for me to serve them right, not only do I have to build that trust, but I have to build the platform based on what their needs are, and that really required me to understand them. So then once we built the platform that has gotten repeat business, now in the last 5 years I've invested in sales and marketing, and now we can really grow. I really spent 15, 20 years building the launch pad, but
when you say
now,
you Yeah, when you say you invested in sales and marketing, what kind of marketing and sales is that? Like, is it in-house? Do you outsource it? Do you do ads? How do you grow that?
well, interesting thing is at the beginning we used Google a lot. Now I hardly use Google. So sorry, Google. Don't
Okay.
expect that. Don't spend ad campaign. As our products has gotten more complex, and as we're
Uh-huh.
selling not just a product but a whole ecosystem, and not just an ecosystem but a whole suite of services and products, it's a more
Mm,
complex sell. Now we really are selling a solution. We're not selling a commodity. And so marketing, like have been on this podcast or doing webinars and speaking on stage,
mm,
those are the type of things that build to that credibility. I built credibility and trust at a personal level when it was just a smaller company and it was just me. But now my marketing and my salespeople really speak to a larger audience, and they come from this industry and they know
mm,
the problems and they're selling the solution.
mm,
Because one of the things in this industry, in the whole marketing and sales funnel, basically the vendors have all chosen a stage in that funnel, and that's what they focused on. But the problem is that forced the builder and the buyer to go through these stepping stones in their customer journey, and it adds a lot
mm,
of costs. It wasn't seamless, it wasn't transparent. By building an ecosystem like we've seen in other marketplaces, where all the data resides in one place, all the analytics resides in one place, all the shopping carts and everything is all in one place. That actually sets the stage not only for a better customer experience and journey, but it really sets the stage for AI.
mm,
Data is actually going to be the most important thing for our company and probably for a lot of other industries in the coming years. The
mm,
content that we create, the visual content, has DNA of data associated with that house. But all that data for every product that's selected actually begets other data, because what we bring into that with interactivity is consumer behavior. So that
mm.
house that has this DNA, but when a young couple shops it versus a retiree couple shops it, that DNA will change because the marketing appeal for those two audiences for the same house are different. And so AI will now utilize product data and people data to now curate that customer down an online customer journey. So down the road, when you're talking about sales and marketing, and I'm not saying that AI is going to rule the world, but AI I think can really help the world, because what we're going to do is allow AI to provide personalization at a massive scale online, which is basically the
Mm.
definition of Facebook. But
Yeah,
we're not
yeah.
doing it for social channels. We're doing it to help you buy your dream home the way you want it, when you want it, how you want it, where you want it,
That is so fascinating. I really, really think this is so cool. It reminds me a little bit. Have you ever seen that episode Nosedive on Black Mirror?
Yeah, I've seen Black Mirror a little bit. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So
It got you.
Nosedive,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so Nosedive is this episode where this woman is in this. She's going to buy a property, so she does actually go to the physical location.
Okay.
But what they did there is they kind of used data to understand what she liked, and what it ended up happening was that there was this guy hologram walked down, started like giving her a hug, kissing her, and the seller was like, can you imagine yourself, and she saw it, but it would be like something similar, right, where you understand what a person likes, and use that data to market and personalize the home, essentially
Exactly.
that buyer journey.
I'm going to create a new word here. It's called pre-suade. Right now, marketing is
Pre-suade.
yes, marketing is about connecting buyers and sellers, and having all that marketing research allows you to help persuade them to buy something. Or if you didn't build the right products, the salespeople will persuade you to go, hey, it's okay to buy this car without air conditioning in Tampa because you get to
Mm,
feel the breeze and whatever. What we want to do is use AI based on what you've asked AI of your needs, your desires, your wants, and maybe where you are in your life stage and what is known everything about you, where you've visited, who your friends are, what you've liked, what restaurants you've been to. We have that whole profile of you to now persuade you, kind of like you're talking about. We kind of know the house and the lifestyle that you're going to want. So The nice thing about AI that's different from all the past marketing is it generates content. So that
Mm.
same house that we have created, and we did generative AI before generative AI became popular. We called it a cloud rendering engine back then, 4 or 5 years ago. So that house that we have rendered, we rendered the base model like in white house, it's just a blank
Mm-hmm.
slate. But as consumers shop with it, they can design it in blue, red, whatever, and it's dynamically generated on the fly.
Mm.
So what happens is we took it from a static rendering, which the rendering company just threw up as one generic billboard representation. Say, hey, we build houses like this. Come over here and talk to us, and maybe we'll find something that you can imagine will be your dream home. To then using apps where buyers can now design some things on their own, but they have to go play around with it. But to now almost like a match.com for houses, the AI would say, hey, based on your chemistry and people like you and your profiles and your needs and your wants, maybe even your co-buyer's interests, so we can meld the two because you're going to live in the same house. We're going to now generate what we think you would like. So you don't even have to even play around with
Mm.
it. So it goes from the buyers doing it themselves to a personalized experience, and then they can customize. So it goes from personalization
Right.
to customization.
All right, right, right. That is so unique, man. I think this is gonna, yeah, that is gonna blow up. I'm
And
just
then
excited
also,
to, yeah.
yeah, when you buy, you're not only buying a house. In buying a house, you're going to buy a lot of things for the house and to transact the house, where you need mortgages, insurance, you need furniture, all these other things down the line. Um, I think based on what house features you've selected, we can now use AI again to present to you the type of furniture you like, where you should live, maybe in school districts and all those kind of things, and connect you with lenders. And I think it really could help facilitate the whole shopping experience and transaction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, how far away are you from making that a reality right now? Like making this that custom and
Okay, well,
personalized.
so we probably have about 300 builders that are using our platform, and we started that back in maybe like 2019, and since then we've have over 20,000 designable homes in our hidden Anugo marketplace. But every builder that uses us actually has this on their website. And
Hmm.
actually, our biggest client is not even a builder. Our biggest client is actually Sherwin-Williams, the paint company, because they were getting so many paint orders from buyers color designing their homes using our app that they asked us to create a white label app for them. So now people are using Sherwin-Williams app to go pick their colors, and they have an exclusivity with us. And from what I hear from their competitors, because they want us to open it up after the exclusivity ends next year, to that Sherwin-Williams is winning 80% of sales pitches
Due
because
to,
because the buyers can visualize their house or their apartment or
yeah.
whatever in the colors that they want and see in different variations versus just seeing a color swatch or a color wheel and imagining that.
But this is one of the things that I told you as well, because I'm someone I'm a very visual person. So when I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at something, I kind of gotta see it, and even in my head, I can kind of picture it. And I'm just thinking about when you buy a home, this is going to be your home for, for
It's
a
an
long
investment.
time,
Yeah, you got
if
to live
not
there.
for
Yeah.
life, right? And so when you buy a home, you want to be able to see and imagine yourself like, yeah, I could imagine, I could see myself walking down these stairs. That's the color I like. This is perfect, right? And I think this is such a huge opportunity for you, but also for people in general looking to buy a home. Is this something that's going to go international, or is it because it's right now it's only US, right?
Right. So there's a number of things when you're buying a new home. Not only do you want to see yourself there, but anybody that lives in that house with you also wants to see what it's like, because
Yes.
so visuals is a great communicator, because if you're trying to describe it, if they can't visualize it or they visualize it wrong, when you guys
Hmm.
move in, you're going to have a big
Yeah.
problem. Even the builders have a tough time trying to sell their homes and say, imagine this. Oh, I think you'll love it and whatever. Actually, visualizations and just visuals and vision in general is about a third of your brain's function is devoted to
Mm,
move.
mm, mm.
From a marketing and sales standpoint, it's such a complex product. Yes, we will go international because visuals transcends all languages, cultures, demographics.
Yes.
A picture's worth 1,000 words. I don't
Mm,
know what that's called, even architecturally and real estate terms. Even worse, if I'm in China or France, I don't know English. I want to see it in my language, which is visual.
mm.
And then we can still translate to French in terms of square footages versus meters or pricing. That's easy. That's a conversion. And AI even makes it easier because AI speaks 60 different languages. It reads the floor plans. See, the secret sauce for us on our floor plans is we write these product descriptions for those houses, but we don't write it. The AI reads the floor plans. It pulls
Mm.
out all the room labels and Jack and Jill baths and outdoor kitchens, all the different options. It puts it into a data library for the AI to reference, but it also creates a thesaurus. So over here in North Carolina, we may call it a screen porch. Somebody shopping from Florida calls it a lanai. We don't want things
Yeah,
to get lost
yeah,
in translation. So now, if you're
right.
shopping from different places and use different terms, we can show you the right product. And AI facilitates all of that.
And how does, because one of the things that I'm also imagining for you guys is with the development of AI and everything that's happening within the metaverse, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got Meta now,
Digital
Facebook,
twin of everything,
right? You're wearing these goggles and you
right?
can do the virtual tour,
Augmented reality.
augment exactly. Is that
We
also
created the
something that
first
you're
augmented
heading to?
reality house when iPhone 6 came out, and in 1 month after AR came out. We're just waiting for this little company called Apple to kind of like make it popular. But
I mean, it's
we gotta
getting
wait on
there. It's getting
Facebook, we
there.
gotta wait on Google, we gotta wait on Apple, but we have the visualization software.
But it's also, one of the things that you were saying as well is that you're also leveraging other businesses, right? Like you're looking at all these other businesses and you're thinking, how can I build something on top of the technology that they have? How has that been for you? And do you have a strategy behind that? When you look at the future of your business, do you plan for that?
Yes, I've been talking about AI for 4 or 5 years, and I thought we wouldn't have to build our own AI, at least for the visualization generation, generating visuals. I didn't know. I knew they were working on AI, but thank
Mm.
goodness 2 years ago, ChatGPT came out, and then all its brothers came out too. And so for a bootstrap company, that was a godsend in a sense because for us to actually create that AI technology at a massive scale and get adoption, just like we can do AR, but now we have to wait for mass adoption. Now these big tech companies are doing it for us, and in a sense, I can buy off the shelf. Not only can I buy off the shelf, but we get to interview all these different AIs. I mean, we are literally interviewing Claude and ChatGPT and Meta because they all have a bag of tricks and they're a little bit different. We need somebody that
Mm.
can speak multimodally, visually, textually, and even by voice. Because when you go into the sales center, you may want to just ask, hey, what's your plan, what's your house plan for this type of lifestyle, and tell me about your community amenities. We want that to be in a spoken way, but also shown visually, and then also be able to be saved, so when you come back home you can continue that journey. For us to build that at a massive scale ourselves probably wouldn't have been feasible. I would have probably died trying, but now because AI has brought that to the forefront, I don't have to worry about that. I can just
Mm.
what we do have is a critical piece that AI doesn't have, and a lot of other builders on their own do not have, is data. We've been
Mm.
I've been collecting all these nuggets of data for 4 or 5 years, not knowing if it's going to mount to anything. And that data, since we started collecting it in 2019, I think in 2019, we only had the last quarter of that year. I think we only had like 5,000 users. And then the next year, it was like a million. And then the next year, it
Wow.
doubled to 2 million.
Wow.
And then it's been growing
Wow.
exponentially. I think this year is like 16 million or something. We're not like Zillow or anything, but we do have a very curated, high intent new home shopping buyer set. And we have over 100,000 actually registered leads of people that actually are buying and looking for to buy a new home. And they're not just leads in terms that we have their contact. These are people that have saved and designed their saved their designs in their shopping cart, and
Mm.
they're not. just providing first party contact information data. They're actually, with AI, hopefully, are looking at zero party data, which is, or going to create zero party data, which is asking for a concierge.
Mm.
They want some entity, whether it's human or AI, to help them go down the new home shopping journey. Because real
Mm.
estate agents generally don't know much about new construction. They definitely don't want to
Yeah.
drive 50 miles to an empty farm field and try to describe what it looks like. And now they're not
Mm.
even getting paid for it. So there is a
Mm.
huge, that O part and open, a huge opportunity to fill a
Yeah.
void.
Yeah.
And I definitely have the passion. I feel like I have 20 years of experience and expertise. And I know there's a huge need in this industry, both by the builders and by the home buyers.
Wow.
Open, open
Yeah.
for business.
Open for business. Open for business. So in terms of I have so many questions here, but I'll start with one of them at least. In terms of the restrictions that AI has, because you're testing out, you're talking to all these different AIs. What is like the number one biggest restriction that you have with AI at the moment?
Well, they're improving on this. Obviously, it was hallucinations, and hallucinations was because they had a lack of data. So they're kind of,
Hallucinations?
well, what I'm saying is the AI, if it doesn't have the data, it will kind of make it up. And
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah. So
so
just.
what we're trying to do is ground it in some real products. So like
Mm,
it may have been watching, the movie Barbie and start showing Barbie houses and say, hey, everybody loves pink houses. Well, that's a hallucination over there. I mean,
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
builders
Okay.
are not going to build
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
kind of houses. So what we do is we kind of curate that data. There's two sets of data, and we're teaching our AI, and we call her Sophie because,
Mhm.
like most millennial buyers, they're sophisticated women. But the
That's.
AI, there's two sets of data in buying a new construction home. One is generally what is new construction and what does it entail? Why is it better than existing homes and all that? Any individual builder does not have enough knowledge or enough space on their website to be the go-to destination to learn all about
Mhm.
that. AI can draw from the world wide web of information of, what is a septic tank, what is new construction financing, what are the energy efficiencies of new homes and all those kind of things. But then what it lacks is actually the actual product information for any specific builder or community. So what we want to be is a new go-to destination. So if you're
Mm.
interested in buying new homes, when you ask AI a general question about new construction, it can pull from all these sources, synthesize it into just that paragraph that's meaningful for you. A paragraph from this website, a few words from that website, whatever. Because AI is really about gathering information and synthesizing it and relating it back to you in a personalized way. But in
Yeah.
that same question, if you're asking about what is energy efficiency and all that stuff, in that same paragraph, even it can pull from the three builders that really highlight their energy efficient homes. So now in that conversation, you're teaching the buyer, educating them about new construction because new construction really requires a lot of exploration and discovery. But at the same time, you're actually offering them a solution.
Mm.
You don't need to go ask again for who these builders are. It's part of that conversation. So what we're hoping to do from a sales and marketing for the builders is bring them into the conversation at the top of the funnel without having to go to a portal, to a website, and go down all these silo chains, and then come back again, ask the question again, and go down another builder. We bring three different builders into that same conversation, and then maybe even show it multimodally with visuals. We can show you that house with energy
Yeah.
efficient.
That's insane. I think, like AI is just gonna do all of the sales as well, right? Like
Yeah.
it's
I
'cause
think
you have.
AI, pardon the little pun here, but in the word pain and gain, AI is right at the center of it. So it's going to eliminate your pain and give you a lot of gain. And if
Yeah.
you, the critical piece is the data. We have the data from, like I said, product and people shopping behavior over the last 4 years.
Mm.
Terabytes of data, which is ironic because that was my first company. It's called Teralytics. We were trying to analyze terabytes of data, but we never had AI to actually utilize that data and to actually get it back to you in a personalized way. So what we want to do in sales and marketing right now, when you buy a new home, the buyer has to do all the work. It has to go and search in, like, put in 5 keywords: new homes, Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay, well, that's all I can put in. That definitely doesn't describe my dream home. And then you get 1,000 websites, and now you got to go one by one. I call it, you search, and then you research, because you have to research each website. And if it doesn't have it, then you got to research again, and you got to do this all the time, not knowing if the next haystack is where you're going to find the needle, or it's just another waste of time. And you got to repeat this every day, because you never know if a new home comes up. Why not have it so now you have your AI as your shopping surrogate, so you can go enjoy your weekend with your family. It's looking constantly for your specific needs and wants. And just like Uber, it brings the content to you when it's available. So there is no FOMO. There's no fear of missing out. There's no effort in searching. And then you can just ask questions, and it just brings that content to you.
It's a huge relief as well for a buyer, I imagine. That
Yeah.
lack of, not having to think about FOMO, like what if I don't see it?
Yeah, well, if I go on vacation, I just lost my place in line.
Right? Yeah. And I think like in terms of just emotionally for people,
Exactly. It's heartbreaking, and it's
such a
stressful.
huge, like, lowers your shoulders.
Right.
It's
So that's why that first part, that fine part, I think if we can attack that with a new AI approach, the design part, which we've already utilized interactive apps to allow you to design it, but now AI could be your assistant, because it could also generate new ideas. One of the examples that we've done is, I was just shopping around with my wife on houses. And of course, she has her 2 or 3 favorite houses, and I have like my 2 or 3 favorite houses. It's like, well, wait a minute, how are we going to do this? Well, I fed the 6 different designs into AI, and I said, can you give me a blend of this? And it actually designed the house with the styles that we want and the color schemes that we wanted. And yeah, so it 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 really it could do a lot of things that individual builders could not do. Is that it can offer ideas and solutions and designs, and drive engagement that I think a salesperson could not do, because they're way down in the funnel, and they never even got to you because they were lost at the find stage. Because a lot of salespeople, they tell me they work in the sales centers, and they said, man, I had 10 people come in today, and I only got 1 sale out of it. So I lost 9. I said, well, I hate to burst your bubble, but you actually lost 900. And they're like, what? I said, what you didn't see is all the people that didn't even make it to you. They were interested in the type of homes that you have, but you lost them online because they could never find you.
Yeah.
Now imagine if you had that same batting percentage out of 900.
Right.
You could have sold, instead of 1 house out of 10, you could have sold 90 houses out of 900.
Yeah. That is insane.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, for you as well, it sounds like a lot of this also comes down to trust, right? Like for you, building up that level of, getting clients in, just establishing yourself as an authority in the space. Like I think when people want to buy a home, they're going to go Inugo. You're just the standard choice. So how do you achieve that level of trust with your clients? How do you get there?
Well, again, adoption is very hard in this industry, because they trust who they know, and they trust what they've done, and they trust their own experience. So the unique thing about the word Inugo, not only are you making a new goal of it, but there's actually 2 words in Inugo. There's new in the heart, in the center, and that's what we're focused on. But there's also a go. One of the ways that I actually have to help our builders transition through an evolution to a revolution is that I still have to offer them print brochures. I still have to offer them static thumbnails for their website. So I still have to do all the things of a go, so that they don't lose anything that they have. But then I give them a little flavor of new, because with new, then they can see in our backend analytics, which we call insights, because it's not just insightful data, but we actually show it visually what people are designing. We see in the new approach that their engagement goes from 2 minutes to from a generic website where they just see the same thing as everybody else, and the same thing tomorrow as yesterday. Why would I go and register and everything? To an average of 16 minutes, and a lot less bounce rates, and a lot more return and engagement, and they move down the funnel. So as they start to see that return on investment without losing what they had from a go, they gradually make a new go of it.
So now for a new go, What is the number one focus for you? What is, what's your objective? What is your goal? And how do you plan on getting?
Wow. Right now, we're primarily B2B, and B2B is business to business. So we actually sell to the builders, and then we leave it to the builders to sell to consumers,
Mm,
which is B2C. I probably shouldn't say this out loud because the builders may get upset with this. I really think with AI and with all the data that we have, and just generally e-commerce, like
mm,
we can go from B to C. I think we may have an opportunity to help the builders sell and market their homes better than they can do it on their own. A lot less
mm,
cost because it doesn't have to go through an extra step, a middleman. We can respond immediately to people's requests at 2 o'clock in the morning. We can have AI learn from not just themselves, but from their competitors. Because, like Netflix, they don't just look at what I looked at and what I like, but it looks like people that have my similar profile that have also like that will probably also. And so we are learning from the masses to paradoxically service individuals.
awesome. So, one final question for you, John, before we wrap up today. What does it take? What does it take to become successful?
I think there's perseverance is a big part of it. It sounds so easy right now, but there's a lot of ups and downs, and when you go down, you always got to think about how to get back up. There's a lot of people that go down and they just keep going down.
Mm,
And part of that, especially if you're bootstrapped, is learning how to pivot and pivot quickly. The one thing when we raised $9 million, anything goes. We can try anything and we can go for a long time with anything. So you're going full speed ahead with all this money into a brick wall, and and you're not even really like paying attention. When you're bootstrapped, if something doesn't resonate, it's not working, especially because I'm the one driving the sales, which is another reason why it was so important for me to be part of the sales process at the beginning. I can see if this new feature or product is going to go nowhere. And the
mm,
last thing you want to do is to spend a lot of money going nowhere, because to
mm,
go in reverse will cost you a lot of money as well. So being able to pivot, and pivot means that you keep your foot one place and you can move your other foot 360 around, decide which direction you want to go. Right. And then when you find the right direction to go, drive in for that layup and dunk it.
that's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perseverance. I think this is so useful because a lot of people, they'll go down one thing, stubbornness, they'll just keep going down and down and down. And they were like, why am I not succeeding? But in reality, if they just took that turn or
Exactly.
pivoted, it's like, oh, this is a lot easier. Passion, it could be many reasons, but yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's just like, a batting average. I mean, most people are not going to bat 1,000. They're going to bat like 200 or 300. So you're gonna have more strikes and more outs than whatever. But you keep swinging and keep swinging.
Mm,
If you can continue to improve, you'll eventually. Sometimes, and this is the other part that's out of my control a little bit. Sometimes it's just timing.
mm,
It's like Wayne Gretzky says, go where the puck is going. I I know in this industry it's a cyclical industry. So I know there's gonna be ups and downs. So when it's down, I know it's gonna go back up because
mm.
it's so important to the economy. Even the politicians will agree to try to boost it up. So
Yeah.
when it goes back up, it's going to come back differently. And so if you can figure out when the tide rises back up, how do you get your boat in position to take advantage of that tide so you can sail in the wind versus being anchored at the dock? I think you will have a leg up when that tide changes, because when a tide changes, it changes very quickly.
Mm,
That's why all this data that I've been accumulating, I didn't know when AI and when anything else would come about to it, but I've been accumulating for 4 years. So this effectively gives me a 4 year head start, because even the people that can buy AI off the shelf, it's useless, because AI without data is like,
the data.
yeah, it's like a doorknob. It's as dumb as a doorknob, and it will not open any doors for you.
There's a lot of lessons to take away from what you just said.
Well, good. Maybe one lesson is to learn from others. That's one of the biggest things for me. I've learned a lot from the people around me, and some of those people were not the hotshot MBAs. They're the guys that have a little idea and they're just sitting in the break room and says, "Hey, man, and I just bought a new home and
Mm,
this part really sucked." They
mm,
tell it from a consumer standpoint, not necessarily from the builder standpoint. So that's another lesson I've learned is don't always just talk to your customer, talk to your customer's customer.
Mm. Talk to your customer's customer. Wow.
Yeah,
I haven't
because
heard I
ultimately,
haven't heard that one before.
well, because actually they're trying to sell to that customer. That's why I said instead of us, you're asking me where my next thing is, not just B2B, but B2C, because B2C is ultimately where we all want to be.
Is it B2B, B2C, or is it directly B2C?
Direct B2C, because back to my original
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
we can now eliminate inefficiency. We have direct to consumer. That's really
Hmm.
what Amazon's done. That's what Netflix has done. That's what Uber's done. They have taken technology to do a great matching game, matching the rider to the driver to the destination to the vehicle to the time frame, to the price and everything. If we can actually do that without going through an intermediary who can't manage that data, who can't respond effectively, who cannot have a decent conversation, and who cannot start where they left off, because the one big difference of buying a new home too is you don't buy it in one sitting, like buying a pair of shoes in 15 minutes. You're buying it over many, many months. And
Mm.
the actual shopping experience starts before they even look at a builder. Like I said, they're learning and discovering why you should buy new. That's where
Mm.
AI fills a void that builders cannot fill, because
Mm.
the builders can only say, hey, when you come to my store, we offer these houses. Why should I even buy a new house? And I'm going to retire. Where should I live? And all that kind of stuff. That's where AI can pull from that massive information called the internet and then personalize it to you, just like Facebook.
Wow. Wow. John, it has been a real pleasure talking to you, man. Uh,
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, yeah.
it
Check in
was,
every year or so. You'll see it's going to change. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, it was really exciting talking to you. And again, thanks a lot for coming on the podcast, man.
I loved it. That was fun.